Hello, everybody. How are we all doing? I'm hoping very, very well. Um, yeah, I just thought I'd hop on a stream, and this is going to be a very sort of specific, targeted stream where we are deliberately talking about something in particular, because a lot has been said about Leeds United's moves, about Leeds United's targets, all that kind of shebang. I'm gonna do that, and actually, Jesus, that makes it dark. And see if I can bring a bit of light. I forgot I'm wearing a black t-shirt, so that explains that. So we are going to go through every single Premier League club and see what the ideal target for Leeds United is from that club. Just because I think it could be a pretty fun way of approaching things, because let's be honest, we have far too much of people just sort of like pulling names out of the ether, but not really like knowing who they are. Whereas I've done a lot of research on this list. This stream is 3 days in the making. However, and this is a fairly serious however that I will need to pause the music for. However, I have been slightly stupid. I will confess to this, and I am actually going to need the lighting. Jesus Christ. And I very, very slightly forgot to do the banners. So let's do that. And we will also be watching along with the Manchester United versus Tottenham Hotspur match, which I think could be very, very exciting. I am, of course, backing Spurs, because I think the funniest possible way to end the season that Scum are having is to lose to Spurs in a cup final. That is just the perfect way of doing it. And whilst we are going on with that, I will be popping together the list of players that we should sign from every single club. So I'm just going to finish my list of banners. Sheffield United, got Sunderland, got Tottenham Hotspur, who are fun times playing right now. You got West Ham, you got Wolves, and then I'm going to include the teams that have come down as well, but I'm going to open with them, just because I feel like they fit there a little bit better. Because Leicester, I like that Leicester are sad. Like it comes across as a bit mean, but it's also very funny, you know? And Southampton. There is the list. So, if we're all ready to go, good evening, Wayne, and good evening, Big Dave. Oh, we love a Big Dave. Let's get ready to hop into it. And we are going to start with the clubs that are now championship clubs. And we're going to start with Ipswich. And Ipswich was a little bit complicated, because you look at the Ipswich side, and I've had a load of conversations with a load of different people about what I think the problem is with the teams that have gone down this season. And for me, the big problem with Ipswich is they are a team of League One and Championship players trying to do it in the Premier League that have been bolstered by a little bit of Premier League talent. So when it comes to it, it's quite hard to pick who you think is a good enough Premier League talent in the Ipswich side to stay in that league. I thought Scum were about to score then, but they didn't. So I split it down into two potential options, both fullbacks, one being Ben Johnson, who I believe signed in either winter or last summer, hasn't been there for too long, isn't the best of players, we've got to be honest, but we have to pick someone from every single club. But the option I went for would be making a comeback to Leeds United, would be Leif Davis, because I think Leif Davis is a player where there's still a lot of potential in him. It's just about getting that potential out of him. And I do believe that there is a little something there. I wouldn't sign him if we had free reign, but I feel like of the options that are on the list, he's probably up there. Next up, you got to talk about another club that went down, which is going to be Leicester. Leicester, I'm going to deal with very, very quickly. It is a player that has, I believe, a £9 million release clause in a position that we need. We kind of need a central midfielder to add to our depth there. Wilfred Ndidi, without a doubt for me. And then we got to hop over to Southampton, where it's kind of tough, because Southampton have had a bad season and the players there have been genuinely dreadful. And again, it was a case of looking at the positions where we need people and looking at the positions where Southampton have decent players. And a lot of people would immediately jump to Ramsdale for this one. And I kind of see why, because Ramsdale is sure a good player. But I'm someone who occasionally will believe in football-based curses. And in the case of Ramsdale, I think he is someone that has spent a little bit too long getting relegated. and I wouldn't necessarily want to try him at Leeds next season. So instead, I have looked at our weaknesses in the fullback roles, so either back up to Jaden Bogle on the right or a left back. In that case, I'll go for Juan Larios, who is currently at Southampton. He's not getting too many minutes, but he seems like he's got a bit of potential. And then someone that can do both sides to an okay-ish standard. I've gone with Kyle Walker-Peters as my sort of goes on two sides, does some bits and bobs, hopefully does the job for you kind of position. Then we move forward into the main sort of Premier League sides. And this is where I think we've got a little bit more of a wide conversation because there's a lot of options. We know there's a lot of options. That's how this works. And the first of these options is one that I believe is quite interesting because you look at the Arsenal squad. And the issue I had going into this was it's not a very deep squad at Arsenal, which means that they're not really going to look at releasing too many players, which is a challenge when you're looking at trying to nab someone from them. So specifically in this case, it was look for who hasn't played much football, but you know is of a decent standard. So for this one, I've gone with Alexander Zinchenko. This season has just 4 starts. He's got 14. Thanks, that was fun. Hiccup. He's got 14 appearances behind them this season, but he's just not getting into the side at Arsenal. Not a bad player by any means, but again, it's falling into that category of you don't have to be a bad player to not be picked week in, week out by a top 6 side. And in this specific instance, Arsenal being second in the league, just about having Zinchenko not work his way into the squad, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it at all. You're looking throughout the rest of the side, and yes, you get some people saying sign Ethan Nwaneri on loan. Maybe, but I feel like if you were going to put your hopes in a youth forward and give a youth forward some minutes, you probably just use Harry Gray. So personally, I'm leaning Zinchenko. Throughout this entire thing, I'm going to see what you guys are thinking. We're going to find out what your picks would be in the comments as well. That'd be quite useful. And I like Wayne's idea. If we're doing players from each club, how about picking one manager from the Premier League? I will do that. I will do that at the end because I haven't prepared that on my little nice big post-it note that I'm showing you the back of because I don't want to do spoilers. But I will definitely be trying to work that one out as we go. Second position up, not position, second squad up that we need to deal with is Aston Villa. Yeah, we're not doing that thing where Bournemouth are actually AFC Bournemouth and they end up a little bit higher up in the alphabet because I think that's quite stupid. Aston Villa have, again, not the biggest of sides, but they are likely to be looking to let a couple of players go this season. Again, I've done the thing of look for positions where we rather need someone in, and specifically that has landed me at left back. Because having a look at Aston Villa's players' minutes draws the attention to Ian Maatsen. Ian Maatsen is a left back who is, I believe, Dutch, but I've lost him. He's Dutch, yeah. Who's played a bit of football for them this season. He started 9 matches in the league, which is not the worst. Played 28 in total, which means that he's someone they can come to rely on off the bench. But he's got to get more minutes behind him to keep developing. And his entire thing is there's very clearly something there for him to develop into. It's just him having the time to do so. Looking at our left back issue, we need someone who is able to bob on down the left-hand side and do some of the attacking stuff, which is in theory what Ian Maatsen does. It's what he's done before, what he will continue to do going forwards. So it feels like he would be the best possible shout. In this case, it would be a loan. For most of these, I've looked at them on a permanent basis. But Maatsen very recently joined. Let's have a goal. Shoot. Yeah, he's very recently joined Villa, so it wouldn't be a permanent move, but he's a player that I feel like you could get away with to try and get some minutes. Next up, we have Bournemouth. And let's keep in mind, I'm not just looking for the best player at all these clubs. I'm also looking at players that we could feasibly get out of their clubs. So that means players that aren't necessarily getting the most minutes or players that are looking for a move. And in this specific case, I kind of struggled before landing on someone that we have a bit of experience with. No, it's not Lewis Cook, because I considered Lewis Cook And it turns out he's played 35 matches for them this season. So he's not exactly a player that you'd be able to get out of there. Instead, I landed on, quite simply, Joe Rothwell. I think he's got a little bit of something to him. I think he wouldn't be the worst of players to have in the Premier League, and I think last season our balance in the midfield was pretty damn good. We had players that can go forwards, we had players that can sit in. I don't mind Rothwell. I know a few people are like, oh, we'll need better in the Premier League, but if you've got to get someone out of Bournemouth, that's probably the direction that I'm going to be leaning. I don't know who else I would necessarily want to sign from there, unless you're maybe talking about a Philip Billing. But again, we need a central midfielder. We know Joe Rothwell knows the system, is fairly decent within it. So it keeps things a little bit zesty, you know. Good evening, CB. Hope you're well. Hi, Joe. From my statement, one of your last live streams regarding contacting people for the Great Cup. I said, have you contacted the match ball people? I meant square ball. Yes, I have. The issue with the square ball, as they will happily admit, is they are a bunch of amigos that are not the most physically in shape. So you've got Dan, who has a little bit of a problem with his foot and therefore will not be able to play, and he just wants to look after himself a little bit, doesn't want to do any like permanent damage. You've got Michael, who has a bit of an issue with his back, so doesn't really want to be aggravating that. Dean, I asked, initially said yes, but he is in a Leeds United based play at the moment, which is quite nice. And the charity match is the day after his run in the play ends, which means that obviously he wants to spend a bit of time with his family. I've tried, I will continue to try with various people, but if anyone has anyone that is potentially interested in taking part in the Creator Cup and is a creator, get in touch, because we're looking for a couple more people just to fill out some slots. Good evening, CB. Where is... I'm going to guess you mean Evie. Get her back out here, please. Okay, I will see. I will ask, since you've asked so aggressively. I was going to say Billing, evening Joe. Good evening, Ellen back. Why have I got a crown on number 2 by my name? Because YouTube is doing a thing where there is like a community leaderboard now. I don't understand it either. But if you do comments and stuff, you get XP, which puts you up and down the leaderboard. I don't understand that entire thing. It's very confusing to me. But it's a thing that I think is designed to increase levels of engagement or something like that. Philip Billing would be superb. I would agree. My one concern around Billing is he's not played much this season, and I don't know if that's a fitness thing. So this season he started 1 game, had 10 appearances, only had 184 minutes of football, which is spooky. Evening, Joe. Any news on Belletti? I don't know. I've not seen anything on that one recently. My apologies, but I will keep an eye out. Back to the list with Brentford. Brentford was a relatively easy pick for me because, again, we're talking about positions that Leeds United need at the minute, which is a few very specific ones. Admittedly, you could probably look anywhere on the pitch and say, could we improve here? But in this specific instance, I landed on Rico Henry, who, again, has not had much football. 5 appearances. I believe it's because of injury. I'm not certain. But the issue with Brentford is it's a relatively small and tight squad. So there's an argument for maybe seeing if you can get Michael Coyote to come. But then again, he's more a right back than a left back, which means that you're still not filling in the left back issue. There's an argument for Ben Mee, but, and this is as I accidentally did last time out, a big but, and I cannot lie. I'm trying to avoid players that you would sign on a free, because in that instance, you are not signing them from the club. You are just signing them. So in this case, not Ben Mee. I've gone with a Rico Henry instead. But this was one of the tougher ones to decide for me. One of the ones that I found relatively... I thought that was in then. One of the ones I found relatively easy to decide, however, is Brighton. Brighton and Hove Albion. It's okay. I also don't understand it, CB. Brighton and Hove Albion have a wealth of footballers, a lot of them getting a lot of minutes, and this one gave me a little bit of pause for thought. So Milner, I believe, would be a free if he did come, so would not be on the list. There was a little bit of me that was thinking Enciso on loan could be a quite interesting one to look at. A little bit of me thinking maybe Asami Ento could be interesting. Sarmiento at Leicester on loan or permanent? I don't know. Maybe someone like a Hinchell would if you promised them a lot of game time, but he's playing a decent amount there already. The conclusion that I landed at was, again, you want to be looking at someone that's sort of in the orbit of the first team but isn't quite making it week in, week out. And the player that I landed at was someone that can play on both flanks, has experience playing as a winger but is more of a fullback. I have gone with the player that has 1 year left on his contract, Tariq Lamptey. Lamptey, I think, is a very interesting case. He's someone that has a hell of a lot of potential, very, very pacey. I think a lot of what you get from him is strength in terms of the overlap, because that is what we like to do when we are going forwards. He's someone that is admittedly not defensively the most solid, but he can play on both sides. So it gives you another decent option that can do sort of all sorts. He's a more attacking fullback, of course he is, but I've always kind of preferred that profile, and that's the kind of profile that we will be replacing. Decent bowling from Spurs, didn't work out. That we'll be replacing if Firpo is to leave, or that we'll be replacing if you need to cover for Bogle at any given point. That's roughly where I'm going with Brighton, I think. There were a couple of other players that I'd considered, but in that case, I just sort of landed at Lamptey. Then Burnley. Burnley is a bit of a question, because I'm going to have a very quick bit of a Google to see if I can find something out. There we go. Okay, so the player that I had in mind for Burnley, I will admit, isn't Lamptey out of contract. I thought he had 1 year, but if he is out of contract, I'd absolutely go for that. Burnley is complicated. So at this point, I hadn't quite worked out my rules for this, and I ended up picking someone that would be on a free. Which, sure, that's my mistake. I acknowledge this. Initially, my version of the player that I thought that we could get our hands on was going to be Josh Brownhill, because he is out of contract at the end of the season. We know he's a decent midfielder, does good stuff. I don't know if that breaks my rule a little bit too much, is my only issue. Beyond that point, if I'm not allowed him, then I have to read very quickly through the list of players that are here to see who we can go for, shall we? I think I would probably land at someone like... Oh. So you've got to pick someone that's not in the first 11, because they're not going to let them go. I'd maybe try like a Hladky, because Hladky is very clearly a decent defender. Not defender, decent goalkeeper. He's just not playing much there because he's stuck behind James Trafford. Because of course he's stuck behind James Trafford, because you don't get in past James Trafford. But I think he's an interesting goalkeeper to be looked at potentially. Is out of contract. Okay, in that case, Lamptey. But the Burnley case, I think I'm going to land with Brownhill if I'm allowed the freeze. If I'm not allowed the freeze, I'm going to go Hladky. Chelsea is another fairly quick one. We need a goalkeeper. Chelsea have a lot of goalkeepers. I've gone with Petrovic. Petrovic is a pretty damn solid goalie. If we have a very quick look at his numbers, Georgi Petrovic was at Strasbourg last year, out on loan from Chelsea, and has stupidly good numbers in terms of post-shot XG minus goals against. So this is the amount of goals they should be conceding versus the amount of goals that they do, is in the top 5%. In terms of save percentage, in the top 2%. In terms of touches, top 1%. And he's very good at keeping the ball short and short passing and keeping everything nice and secure. I very much like Petrovic. I think Petrovic would be the perfect choice for us. I don't know if that would be a case of on loan. It probably would, or permanent. But regardless, it's a very, very strong player. He's a strong player that I would frankly like us to go for. So I ain't going to be complaining about that if we do end up landing someone like a Petrovic. The rest of the Chelsea squad, I think there are a billion players, and you could probably pick any of them and make a decent case. I know some people have been shouting about Mudryk recently, but I don't think that one necessarily works for me. But yeah, I think if I had to lean anyone, it'd be Petrovic, and hope that he does incredibly well, because he will. He's got a decent career in front of him, and hopefully we can be a part of that. Next up, you've got Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, another little bit of a complicated one. One of the players I had in mind was Tyrick Mitchell, because we know we need a left back. However, the issue with signing Tyrick Mitchell is Tyrick Mitchell plays a lot of football for Crystal Palace. Started 36 matches in the league this season, which is frankly ridiculous, and will not be someone that you can get out of there. In terms of contract, he's got very little of it left, but if he does go somewhere, he's very likely going somewhere that is more established in a top division than Leeds United, which leaves me on a hunt for someone that is, again, a little bit more rotational, because established Premier League sides won't want to release their players to new upcoming rivals. So I landed at Daichi Kamada, because I think he is a genuinely very good midfielder when it comes to the fundamentals. He's clearly a player that they trust. So he started 14 matches this season, but he's got 32 appearances. So coming off the bench, he's doing bits and bobs for them. And he's not got the best numbers. I will admit this. Not got any goals, not got any assists. But I think he's someone that's reasonably solid and will, in my opinion, help the side to do what it needs to do in terms of looking after itself. 6.06k. Are you talking subscribers? Because I know it was great. It happened the other day. But I think Kamada's probably where I would lean. In terms of would you take Eddie back, he was on the list of players that I considered. And I considered him briefly before seeing that he has started 8 matches this season, played in 27, got almost 1,000 minutes, and he scored once. So whilst I appreciate what he did for us in the promotion season, for me, Eddie isn't what is needed to keep us up. It'd be nice. I like that link, but not for me. When it comes to Everton, I went a little bit easy, I'll be honest with you at this point, because I didn't do it in order. I did it in just sort of like vibes, and if I knew I wanted someone from somewhere, I would just put them on the list. This was a relatively simple one. This was just, oh, cool. We'll link with Beto. Beto's quite good. He is. He scores a decent amount of goals. Per 90 as well. His numbers are frankly ridiculous, if I remember right. Where are you hiding, Beto? There we go. From Guinea-Bissau, and he scores a goal every other game in terms of per 90, which is really, really good. Top 23% of strikers, and in addition to that, he does the defensive side of the game well as well. So he's in the top 50% for tackles, for interceptions, for blocks, so you know that he's got a decent work rate. Is in the roughly top 5% for both clearances per 90 and aerials one. You know he's going to do a lot of work for you. And that's why I think I'm going to land on Beto in terms of from Everton. And then Fulham. Fulham was a challenge. Because Fulham, I've not watched them play a single game all season. So I'm stuck going on vibes here. I believe Tom Kearney's likely heading to Wrexham, from what I can tell, so that ruled him out. And then there were a couple of options that I considered. There was the option of maybe Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson not played tons for them this season. 11 starts, 24 appearances. He's had 6 goals, which is not too bad. And he may be looking for a move away. I believe he's got 1 year left on his contract as well, which obviously makes that a little bit easier for us. If I remember right, I saw that he maybe has a contract extension or something like that that gives him a year, but not certain. That's probably where I'd land. I would probably go with Harry Wilson, because beyond that, I'm not entirely convinced by much of that side, to be completely honest with you. He's not a bad player at all. So that's where I'm going to go. And he's got the Welsh connection, and he's experienced in the Premier League and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to land that way. I think Eddie's come on a lot since playing for Leeds. I would agree, but I'm not sure. I'm hearing Sean Longstaff deal's done, providing he passes medical. I've heard that from nobody, unless someone's gotten in touch with me since I started the stream. Let's have a look, shall we? Okay, that's tomorrow morning's video sorted. Oh, that's horseshit. Okay, no. No. Right, okay. I see right. This is where clickbait bollocks has come in. So I'm going to distract from the main goal of the stream for a minute. Oh, what? Joe's getting off topic on a stream? Never. That wouldn't happen. This is the article that is the only thing that I can find. Sean Longstaff to pass medical as Leeds transfer news emerges. You read this and just reply with a yes or no in the comments. Would you believe that the article is saying Leeds United have made a bid and Longstaff is in the middle of doing a medical that he's probably going to pass? Is that what we're thinking? Simple yes, no. Because having read a little bit further, I like my news being news rather than what this turns out to be. Wayne, I think you are a step ahead of me there. But that's what they're trying to imply, right? They're trying to leave the idea that he is on the brink of getting something done. Because read a little bit further. The source on this, Newcastle midfielder and Leeds target Sean Longstaff has had an exemplary fitness record this season, according to Dr. Rajpal Brar. This isn't even news. There's nothing to this. The entire source of this thing is a doctor thinks he's fit. As in, whoa, sexy man. No, not like that. But the entire article here is based on, doctor thinks he's fairly healthy. So if someone makes a move for him, he'll probably pass a medical. That's nothing. And I can't see anything else that says Longstaff. I will keep looking. But I hate sports journalism now. Because since everyone is getting paid by the click, they just make things up. They make so many things up. So annoying. Right, anyway. Then I've put Leeds United because we're that was a fun hiccup because we're a Premier League side. But the specifics on this one is I'm going to take a player that I think we are potentially going to lose and that I would choose to have sealed down. And in this case, it's Junior Firpo because I think he can do a job for us. And I like him. In terms of Pat, I think his journey at Leeds is definitely done. As much as I like the guy, I don't know if the longevity is there at the minute. So I'm leading Firpo. Do you consider players from the losing team at the playoff championship final? You will find out. We'll get in there alphabetically. We'll be there in the end. Are you not watching the big match? I am on second monitor. This is dueling as a sort of watch along thing. I'm keeping track of it, basically. If we're buying already from, that's a weird way of saying Gladbach. We should get Frank Honoré at the same time and sort of 10 position. Maybe. It's a tough one. Make things up, that's journalism. It's not, and it hurts me because god damn it, can people put effort in? Liverpool. This is where I wanted to be cheeky. This is where initially, before I was 100%, I was like, I could just put Simicast here because it's probably going to happen and I'll look real smart. And now I have done the report that is like, Simicast is basically done. So I don't know if I can say Simicast here because I think we have already agreed terms with him. So Kelleher? If it's not Simicast, it's Kelleher. I think that's sort of has to be the way that it is if we could sign someone from Liverpool right now. Manchester City is an interesting one because I've heard some weird names when it comes to interests in Man City players. So I've heard someone have a little bit of a discussion about John Stones, who's got 1 year left on his contract and is potentially looking for a return to Yorkshire. In this case, that'd be quite good for us, but I don't know if there's anything behind that. I've only heard it from one person, and even that was a sort of loosey-goosey, weird link. Stefan Ortega, not a bad shout, is someone that we would maybe look for like 8 to 12, maybe. Decent enough goalkeeper, I think, although he's got an error in him, but it's quite hard to find a goalkeeper that doesn't because everyone makes the odd mistake. But the one that I've gone for is James McAtee. He is a very, very good number 10. That has to be recognised, and I wouldn't. I think we're a good place for him to continue his development, is roughly what I would go with. He's a player that's got very, very clear, strong ability on the ball and off the ball, and is a sort of good alternative to Brendan Aronson. Aronson, we know, is really good at the energetic stuff, but not great at the creative stuff. McAtee kind of does both. So I'm going to go McAtee for that one, with the assumption that we probably get a keeper from elsewhere, and the Stones thing, I don't know if there's anything solid to that. Moving beyond this, it's Scum. It's Scum. Scum was difficult to pick one from. So the option that I went for was I went with Chido Obi, who is a youth striker. And the only reason that I've gone for him is because I kind of wanted to go for a player that doesn't have the stench of Scum Bastard on them yet. So that's our choice. Following Scum, you've got Newcastle. Newcastle was not the most difficult because everyone is going to shout Longstaff. Longstaff, for me, ain't the one. If you could maybe ping me a DM with it and I'll take a look and see what there is on it, but I'm not sure. It's one where I want to take a look, but I don't know if I can right now. Where was I? I was on Newcastle, yes. I've not gone Longstaff. I've gone Pope. He's got 1 year left on his contract. If they are looking at Trafford, then Pope's going to want to make a move. I think we are a Premier League side that is very obviously looking for a goalkeeper. And although I think stylistically he doesn't suit what we'd want 100%, he's still not a bad option. He's not the best with the ball at his feet because, like, Eddie Howe's basically given him the license to, if you want, go a little bit long. But he does the job that we need him to. So Pope, I think, is not a bad option, at least in the short term, if we want to sign someone younger as well. Like, I don't know. Hard to say. I'm going to deal with some comments, and then we will pop back to the list. And I thought journalism will always believe the fact that there is a double-decker bus on the moon. Isn't there? Oh, man, I thought that's how they got there for the first missions. Timacas, even if Firpo signs. I think maybe. I don't see Firpo sticking around as much as I want him to. But in the event that he does, we're going to need a backup left back anyway. So maybe I wouldn't hate that. Hold on, there's a weird foul thing that's happened. Why is Bruno Fernandes the person that he is? Why is he such a bastard? I'll take Rory McAtee. I've got McAtee. As you've been impartial, have you seen the last two vlogs by Leeds United Unfiltered? I have given them a look, yes. And the things that he says are kind of valid, but at the same time, I'm not one for calling people out, and people's content is always going to be unique, and people will put out whatever they want to, so it's fine. Yeah. It's not the style in which I would have done it, but I can see the points that are being made, I guess. Until it comes on Sky Sports, then I believe it's only clickbait. Yes, but then, right, okay. I was having a chat with Jer earlier in the week, right? And the way that he phrased it was, a lot of the time people will say it's fake news because they've not seen it in a big outlet, or it's not been officially announced by the club. It's not like transfer moves get done within 2 minutes. There is a matter of months and weeks and a long, 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 long time of setting the basis for a move to happen in the first place. So it doesn't make it clickbait just for a discussion to be happening that isn't announced on Sky News. It just makes it a different stage of the news. Because in the Simicast thing, for example, I know I've gone early. I've probably gone too early because now people are shouting fake news at me. But that doesn't make it inaccurate. It just makes it timed differently. The Pope would have God on our side. That's a good point. I like it. We're doing the Pope puns. There's got to be a Sistine Chapel joke somewhere, but I can't think of it. Anyway, next up, Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest was weird. Nottingham Forest have a bizarre squad because it's over the past couple of years been ripped apart and put together about 4 different times. The side that I landed with Nottingham Forest, in the end, was maybe not someone... That was a nice hiccup. You'd especially expect, but it's someone that I think we'd get a lot of use out of. I have gone with Ibrahim Sangare. Every time I have watched Sangare play, specifically, let's have a look at his career history because I've forgotten what club he was at. There we go. His time at Toulouse and his time at PSV was a ridiculously impressive defensive midfielder. He's still fairly young. He's just being held out of the side by the fact that, like, Nottingham Forest have a big squad and a fairly good squad. For me, Sangare is a player that isn't getting enough minutes at the moment and could do quite well in the right system. And I think we've got the right sort of system for him. So that is where I would land from Forest. What we're going to do with the playoff clubs is we are going to cover both. We're going to cover Sheffield United. We're going to cover Sunderland. And then that will be fine. Sheffield United, there's a few options. I'm a little bit curious as to what you guys are leaning on this one, because I've seen a lot of people shouting the name Gus Hamer at various volumes and in various directions over the past couple of weeks. I personally would not like us to get Gus Hamer. Everything I've seen from him seems to breach the keeping a good character within the squad vibe that we have at Leeds, because he seems like he's someone that wants to spend a long time on the floor every time he's been kicked, and he's just generally a little bit grumpy, and he's very, very consistently injured. Harrison Burrows, I don't necessarily agree, because I don't see him leaving after one season, I'll be honest with you. The player that I would potentially land on is maybe Vinny Souza. Vinny Souza, from everything that I've seen of him this season, is such an incredibly hard-working midfielder. He's effectively Ethan Ampadu in different skin. The amount of stuff that player does is obscene, and I think within our system, acting alongside a Tanaka or a progressive midfielder would do incredible work. So that would be, without a doubt, my choice from Sheffield United. I know a lot of people will, for example, say Arblaster. Sure, he's had a good season. But I think as a unit, we would gain a little bit more by signing someone like a Vinny Souza. Maybe Cooper could be a shout. Yeah. But this is on the sort of assumption that I would maybe prefer a Pope. Because I'm a Catholic. I'm not a Catholic. I don't really have a religious affiliation at all. But I would lean Popewards rather than Cooper. And that's why I'm going with Vinny Souza as the option from Sheffield United. And the option from Sunderland comes up next. Sunderland were tricky because I don't know what specific players have that screaming out really good quality to them in the Sunderland side. And I don't know how that would translate if you're going up a division. Which, for me, led me to the exact same name that the Orange Raider has just said, which is Chris Rigg. Chris Rigg is currently still the tiny, tiny age of 17 and is performing pretty damn well in that Sunderland side. 42, is that a goal? Spurs are winning. Spurs are winning. Yes. Chris Rigg is a very, very decent midfielder. Is someone that I think has a ridiculously high ceiling, and I think will reach it if he's at the right club. And I think we've shown that we are a decent club to do youth development with, as we saw last season, for example, when Archie came through the ranks, really, really proved himself, and did pretty damn well. We still have a young squad, and we seem to forget this. So Chris Rigg would probably be the way that I would go. I do not know what you are talking about with this, but unsure. What about Job? Job is okay. What's the diplomatic way of putting this? Right. What I'm going to do is I am going to star this comment, and I'm going to come back to this comment and address it when I'm through the list, because I want to get through the list before I. Oh my god! It's an own goal. Is it? Yes. What I want to do is I want to get the stream done on time because I need to be finished by 9. So I'm going to get through the main stuff first, and then I'll cover anything that I've missed, if that's okay. So yeah, Chris Rigg at Sunderland. Are Gray and Spence playing? I don't believe so. I know Gray is on the bench. Spence, I'm not certain about. He's not a left back. I think Porro's playing at right back, so probably not. Next up, we got Spurs. Spurs, I think, is a pretty obvious one. You've got 3 sort of options. You've got Serge Reguilon, who is running low on his contract. You've got Ben Davis, who is probably leaving Spurs this summer. But for me, Manor Solomon is the guy. Manor Solomon is such a good player that I quite desperately want him back. And the fact of the matter is, we saw him be good for us. And for me, that's what counts. We know he fits in the system. We know he's a very good player. He's played in the Champions League. I wouldn't mind signing Manor Solomon. Next up, you got West Ham. West Ham, I found tricky. And I found West Ham tricky because those sides that are at the lower end of the division are difficult for me. Because you're looking for someone that is breaking through, or someone that's very rotational. I considered Fabianski for a minute, but he's 40 years old. And I think if you're looking at signing a goalkeeper, Fabianski will do 1 year or 2. I don't think that's enough. Had a little bit of a thought about Guido Rodriguez, because relatively experienced Argentinian midfielder, quite good in the tackle. But I was less convinced. So I ended up following the painful clickbait, and I landed in the no. I'm doing a last minute change. I'm breaking my rules. I'm not going to go too far. I am going to go with Luis Guilherme, who is a number 10/winger from Brazil. Moved to West Ham, I believe, last summer. 12 appearances for them last season. Not a ton of minutes, 150. 1 start, but I think he's someone that has a very, very high ceiling. He'd be a player for the future. We would potentially just be signing him on loan. I don't know, but I think he's got a little bit of spark, a little bit of creativity that we don't necessarily have at the moment. So that's probably where I'd be leaning for West Ham. And then when it comes to Wolves, I struggled again because they've not got the biggest squad, and it's not a squad with the most quality. I know what I said, but I disagree with what I said. I kind of hate what I said. Because what I said on the sheet of paper that's in front of me was Craig Dawson. But Craig Dawson is 35 and not particularly great. So I will need to look around for someone else. Don't think we could do that. No. I'm going to go with, is a stab in the dark, Tommy Doyle. Pretty decent midfielder. Not brilliant, but who knows. Semedo and Dawson are out of contract. Yeah, but Semedo is... He's played 32 this season. He's got 4 assists. And considering we like an attacking left back, I don't know if Semedo does that. And I think he's currently their captain. So he'd be basically demanding game time, and I don't know if he would necessarily warrant that, in my opinion. Ait Nuri has played 35 matches this season. I don't think we could get him out, is the issue. And with Dawson being out of contract, yeah, I know it'd be easy to get him, but he's 35. And a lot of people's complaints every time we see Pascal Struijk is, well, he's not the quickest, is he? So 35-year-old Craig Dawson does not fix that problem. So I'm going to go with Tommy Doyle. It's going to be fine. Anyway, I'll hop over to the comments. We'll have a little bit of a chatter over there. That'd be lovely. Let's all laugh at Scum. Indeed, I like it. 6 points versus Scum next season. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, hope that us and Burnley and whoever the hell else comes up have a really good season next year. Because I have very little doubt that we could see Scum in a relegation fight. And I want to be the ones that drag them into it. I want to see how much damage we can do to their souls. We're going to ruin them. We're going to make them sad. And it's going to be great. Half-time, 1-0. I'm just going to whack the words also Europa League. Watch along, I guess, on the title. So we can do that for the next 10-ish minutes. Solomon let the shadow it out. I think I agree for Spurs. Is it ironic Solomon could have played in the final tonight? I don't know if he would have anyway, because you got Brennan Johnson who plays the same role. Does he play the same role? Or is he central? They've got Johnson, they've got Richarlison, who can also play on the left. I don't know if Solomon would have played. Joe, you're debating your own opinions. How ironic. I don't know what you mean. It feels sassy, like implying that I'm not usually open to debate, but I don't know if there's anyone that I've not had a debatey conversation with yet. But if you want to do debating, go for it. Now my pick for manager. Give me a minute. Oh, transfer marked. Tell me who's a manager in the Premier League, please. Right, Pep, no, because unachievable. Frank, Arteta Silva. Right, are we talking dream world here, or are we talking realistic? Because realistic, it ain't looking easy. If we're talking anyone, then I'm personally going to be going with Iraola. Because Iraola was the choice for me when we got rid of Jesse Marsh. Didn't happen, because obviously he wouldn't want to be involved in a relegation battle. And now Bournemouth are doing pretty damn well. So in the perfect world, you're going with Iraola. I wouldn't mind Postecoglou. I know there's a lot of people that aren't the biggest fan of Postecoglou, but I genuinely think he's got a fair bit. Oh, hello. You okay? Yeah. Yeah. See you soon. See you soon. Sorry, Kayla was doing some shenanigans. I was referring to your Wolves pick at 35 euro down. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't vibe with Dawson too much. Anyway, I forgot. Let's go back to the Job thing. What about Job? I am, and this is a thing where if I am wrong, I will be clipped up as hell. But for me, I am of the opinion that Job Bellingham is one of the more overrated young talents in English football. And there is a reason for that, and we all know the reason for that, and the reason is his surname. Because over the last season, manages 4 goals, 3 assists. Fine. That's okay for a midfielder. It's nothing like exemplary, it's not insane, but it's something. The Athletic, earlier today, and this blew my mind, because I don't know how you've come to this conclusion. Chuck him in their team of the year. Now, typically, the Athletic tend to be sensible. I'm going to see if I can find it. The Athletic Championship team of the season. It might be that one. Control F Championship. Their player of the season was James Trafford. Fair enough, I get that. Team of the season. There we go. Got something in my eye. That's not fun. The championship team of the season is odd, I would say. In goal, they've gone James Trafford. I kind of get that. That's fine. In front, centre-back, Estev and Rodon. There's arguments to be made for both. Fair enough. Full-backs, Firpo and Bogle. Obviously, I'm going to agree. I'm a Leeds fan, and they did a lot in terms of attacking work. I'll do the front three next. They've gone Sargent out on the left. Sargent had a very, very decent season. I think per 90 was probably better than Boyer Science. I've chatted with a Norwich fan about this. They would probably also go with Sargent instead of Boyer Science. Pirro in the middle, fine, golden boot. If you get the golden boot, it's quite hard to ignore you. Right flank, Dan James. Okay. Centre of midfield. Gus Hamer. Fine, okay, I see it, whatever. Josh Brownhill. Okay, that makes sense. And their third choice of central midfielder, Joe Bellingham. Joe Bellingham being in there because, and I quote, Joe Bellingham has shown he can provide star quality at any given moment. I don't know if he has. And I keep feeling that he's just riding on his name. The goals he scored this season, for a little bit of context. Scored in a 2-0 win against Derby. Scored in a 2-0 win against Oxford. I think we're about to see a pattern here. Scored in a 3-2 win against Swansea. Fine, okay, that's okay. Scored in a 2-1 win against Norwich. That happened on the 21st of December, and he's not scored since. Outside of that, his goal involvements are an assist against Stoke, again, before Christmas. An assist against Swansea, again, fine, but before Christmas. And an assist in the first match of the season against Cardiff, who went down bottom of the league. For someone that is being regarded as such a ridiculous talent and someone that is like worthy of the team of the season, and we need to sign this guy, he's done an astoundingly minimal amount of stuff. I'm gonna count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3. There we go. 23 matches since he has scored a goal or gotten an assist. So to say that like he's able to like demonstrate his star power at any moment, sure, as long as that moment is before Christmas 2024, because other than that, he's kind of struggling a little bit. It's, for me, it's very, very tough to argue that Bellingham is going to be worth the amount of money that he's going to be sold for. And fine, people will come back by being like, well, yeah, but he's 19 years old. He's not particularly like grown up, so he's got a lot of developing to do. Okay. But you can say the same for Chris Rigg, who had 5 goal involvements, which is just, admittedly, less than 7, but he also plays a more defensive role in the system. So I don't know. For me, Joe Bellingham is such a baffling player. And the fact of the matter is, if Sunderland go up, you can tell that all of the press around Sunderland's first match is going to be, look, it's Bellingham's brother. What about everyone else? Like, come on. Bit of a weird one. If he does, fair enough. Well done. That doesn't like turn him into like a generational talent. But I don't understand it. I can't understand it. And I'm trying. I promise you I'm trying. But it ain't happening. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw us over to Questions Corner. I'll do 1 or 2 questiony bits and then I will bring the stream to a close because I got some bits to do at 9 o'clock. And yeah, should be quite good. I think that entire topic has me more annoyed than I realized. So I'm gonna have to keep that one in mind as topics of conversation to avoid. So we shall see. Gonna have to skim some things. Why are the charity match chats going wild? On that note, if you've not yet, you can get a ticket for the charity match, the Leeds Creator Cup, down below at the website that is linked down there. £7 for adults, £3 for kids. And if you get your ticket before the 31st of May, there is a lovely raffle to get like a personalized shirt, and it should be very, very nice. So hopefully see as many of you there as possible, because it's going to be a fantastic time. I'm really, really looking forward to that. Very much pumped. And now I'm very, very much hoping that Scum lose to Spurs, because that'd be quite funny. No, in fact, let's have an equaliser from Scum and then an Archie winner. That's what I want to go with. Did you break news on a concrete signing yesterday? No, not that I know of. Not yesterday. How many tickets have you sold? I'm going to keep that one confidential, but a good few. We hit a very, very, very nice landmark in terms of fundraising yesterday, which was wonderful. Like and subscribe, or the supply teacher will put you in detention. You're damn right I will. The supply teacher of Leeds United YouTube. Anyway, with all that in mind, I hope you enjoyed. Like if you haven't yet, subscribe again if you've not yet, or become a channel member. That's also absolutely wonderful. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.